Hi, and in this MicroVid, we'll be continuing our topic of breathing mechanics. Specifically, we'll be talking about two components of breathing mechanics, and the first one is surface tension, and the second one is surfactant. So let's talk about surface tension first. As we've mentioned before, surface tension is a result of the attractive forces of the hydrogen bonds between molecules of water. And because these water molecules have attractive forces between them, that is hydrogen bonds, when these water molecules are up against a gas-liquid barrier, the forces are unbalanced. So to depict this out, let's draw a water droplet. So here we have a water droplet, flat surface with a water droplet on it. And as you notice, the water droplet is domed. That's because the water molecules located at the air barrier have unequal attractive forces, meaning that these water molecules, let me zoom in right here, the water molecules right here, in this one, their attractive forces are directed towards the rest of the water, not towards the air. Whereas the water molecules located in here have attractive forces to all different water molecules in the different directions. Therefore, you get this dome shape when you have a water to gas interface. Here we have a cluster of 3 alveoli, and we can see that there's a lot of potential for the effects of surface tension. You have air inside the alveoli. You also have a thin liquid barrier on the inside of the alveoli. The alveoli have this thin liquid barrier, which is represented by the green. And we said that when you have a liquid barrier, zooming in here, when you have a liquid barrier and an air barrier, you will have the effects of surface tension, or these surface forces. And these surface forces promote collapse of the alveoli. Now you have millions of alveoli in your lungs. And when you have millions of alveoli, that is a lot of surface tension and a lot of collapse that is promoted by this liquid to gas interface. So because we have the effects of surface tension in our lungs, this surface tension is a strong force. In fact, it's responsible for more than 50% of lung recoil. So let's take a look at the lungs. So here we have an example of the lungs, and the effects of surface tension are great. Not only is there surface tension, but there's the natural elasticity of the lungs promote collapse. So much so that if we just left it at that, if our bodies just left it with the natural surface tension that occurs from all the alveoli, it would be very strenuous to breathe. However, we produce something called surfactant. Now, surfactant is an agent secreted by type 2 pneumocytes, or type 2 alveolar cells. And surfactant is composed of mainly lipids, phospholipids, lipoproteins, and apoproteins. Also, another important compound that is part of surfactant is called dipalmitoyl phosphatidylcholine, or DPPC. So now that we've talked about what surfactant is and what it's made up of and where it's secreted, what does it do? That's a great question. So let's look at that. Surfactant plays a really important role in that it lowers the surface tension. Now, this is really important because, as we mentioned up above, the lungs have millions of alveoli, and the effects of surface tension are very great and would cause the lungs to be a lot harder to inflate if there weren't some mechanism by which we could decrease the surface tension. However, we do. We have surfactant. So surfactant lowers the surface tension, and it does this in a really interesting way. Surfactant works because it contains a hydrophobic and a hydrophilic region, just like a phospholipid. In fact, surfactant, as I mentioned, is mainly made up of phospholipids. So let's take a look at that and how it works. Here I've drawn, sort of exaggeratedly so, water molecules forming this dome shape. So you can see the dome shape right here. It's forming this dome shape right here. And we've mentioned before that these water molecules at the air and water interface, or air and liquid interface, they have an unbalanced attraction to water. So their attraction is mainly going towards water. This causes water to have a domed shape when it's at an air and liquid interface, whereas these water molecules in the middle, they have equal force of attraction everywhere. So here's what surfactant does. Surfactant, which I'm going to draw like this, because it's mainly made up of phospholipids, and this is a phospholipid. We've got the hydrophobic tails right here, hydrophobic, and the hydrophilic head. What these phospholipids do, what this surfactant molecule does, is it inserts itself as such so that it's coating the water molecules, the outer layer of water molecules. Thus, in effect, now what's happening, let's zoom in, now what's happening is the water molecules that used to be at the air surface barrier, these right here, these water molecules, now they don't have an uneven attraction. Now they can be attracted to the hydrophilic portion of surfactant as well as each other. So now they have more of a balanced attractive force. And because now they have this balanced attractive force, what happens is you do not get the doming up, or you do not get the effects of surface tension. Now, because surfactant has both a hydrophilic and a hydrophobic end, the orientation of the surfactant molecules remains fairly the same, with the hydrophobic ends near the air barrier and the hydrophilic ends towards the water molecules. So remember that surfactant plays an incredibly important role in minimizing surface tension, and that's incredibly important because surface tension accounts for more than half of the recoil of the lungs. By decreasing surface tension, we are able to inspire with much more ease, and it's a lot more energy efficient. I hope this brief overview of surface tension and surfactant has been helpful.